G'day and welcome back everyone. There's been a little bit of a setback with building old mate's motor. Had to send the crankshaft back. So I've had a little bit of an opportunity to do a bit more work on the HT. Now what I'm doing is dropping the front end out of it, and I'll take that transmission mount out and I'm going to get underneath it, clean the bejesus out of it, and hopefully get some coating on it, some underbody deadener, and then yeah, a bit of GMH black. So yeah, while I'm at it, I'll show you. If you remember in the last video, I used some of that spray on rust converter, and down here you can see, now this wasn't prepped at all either. I just sprayed it on to see how it'd go, but it's kind of, yeah, it's flaking off. So I'm in two minds now whether or not to bust out the sandblaster and just give it all a good once over, or what the plan is. I'm not going to go overboard, but yeah, just a quick tidy up. Alright, well I'm going to get this front end out. This won't be going back in the car either. This is the drum brake front end. It's got 6-cylinder springs in it. Tie rods and everything feel alright. Might be able to reuse them, but yeah, that's the plan now. I'll drop this front end out and lay on me back and get filthy. Alright. This is what I was afraid of. I knew that they wouldn't be great, but anyway, I didn't really feel like grinding and welding today, but I'm gonna have to. The other side's even worse. I don't know if you can see that with all the backlight. I'll come around the other side. Yes, there's almost nothing left of that one. So yeah, cool. Alright. I didn't have any other sheet except for the 1.2 stuff that I've been using for repairs, panel repairs. I went down to the local fabrication shop, asked them to have a scout around behind their guillotine for a bit of a handy offcut. I got this 2mm sheet. I'm going to attempt to get some new mounts made up, the mount buddy cradles. So these are some new ones, and all I'm trying to do is replicate this shape in here. So I'm just sort of laying this out here and then just kind of transferring straight lines up to yeah, the corresponding, you know, sort of lines. I don't want it to be, I'm going to try and make it so it's a little bit of a snug, sort of slightly oversized fit, because obviously, yeah, I want it to fit in there good. But what I'm going to make isn't going to be as rounded as the factory stuff. Mine's going to just be straight bends out of the sheet, and it should do the job quite nicely. Like I said, this isn't a I'm not going for concourse, I'm going for functionality and bang for buck. So that's what I'm doing. So now, like I said, I'm just trying to transfer some of these lines onto the template, and yeah, we'll see how I go. So that one's around about there ish. Here's my revision. I started off and I went, no, that's way too big. So now coming back here and doing it this way, laying it over and just sort of getting an eyeball in, and then yeah, go from there. Alright, I think I've got the shape. Now it sits in there kind of snuggish, and you'll see, I don't know if the camera's pointing in the right. Let me adjust that up a bit. Alright, so you can see a bit of a gap in there, but I think when it's all bolted up and it pushes down, clamps up, it should all be a nice snug fit, I reckon. So that's the shape that I'm going to work with, and we'll yeah, see how it turns out. Okie dokie. After some mucking around, this was kind of like the first pattern that I made, and I'll try and get as square on as I can. Now the problem I ran into is that while the bottom kind of lined up, the edges were falling a bit short, so that wasn't going to work. So because obviously this line here sits lower than the rail line here, so the next pattern is this one, and that lines up a lot better with the rails there. Now these are just 45s. That should be plenty good enough. So I think I've got the side profile pretty good. I think I'm going to put a little bit of a fold line in there so they kind of lean in a bit, because I think that's sort of how they were. They leant in a little bit. So yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll make a couple more of these, and then I think it's just going to be easier if I just cut strips and then weld it all together that way, instead of trying to fold up something that's gonna, because I don't really have precision folding gear. But hey, geez, this was not what I wanted to do today, but anyway, got to do a job to do a job. But that's mucking around with old cars, I guess. Alright, I've got all my little profile plates cut out. The next step, if you have a look underneath the subframe there, where this rubber actually goes into, it's recessed. So that was a bit of a spanner in the works. What I've come up with, I've made up a little die press with some all thread, etc. So I'm going to try and put a dimple in this. I've left it attached to this sheet because it might provide it with a bit more rigidity. Quite curious to see how this is going to turn out, to be honest. Welcome back, boys and girls. Now, because I'm a shit videographer, I guess that's the term, you missed out on me making these little doodads. And these little recesses, when the mounts are all made up, they sort of go in there like that for that part of the rubber to sit into. How I went about doing this, made up a little what would you call it, die? I guess you'd call it a die. And yeah, just simply drilled a hole in my sheet, used some all thread, and yeah, simply pressed it in like that. Didn't turn out too bad, all in all. It was a bit of mucking around to sort of make this, and I started off with using some bloody some plumbing fittings, and had to bore that out a little bit. It sort of didn't really work. Yeah, you really need that side clearance between the outside diameter and the inside diameter to, yeah, let your sheet metal move. But anyway, we got there in the end. So now what I'm going to do today, I think I might grab the engine hoist and just lash onto the front of this thing and just lift it up as high as I can get it to make working under there a bit easier. And then I'll cut out the old rusted subframe mounts and then, yeah, go to town. Alright, I thought I'd show you the process on this side because it gets the most light. I'm just getting a centre punch, going into the centre of my spot welds. One there. One there. And then, got my handy dandy little spot weld bit. And this was just an eBay jobby. Seems to work pretty good. It's basically just a small hole saw with a spring loaded pin in the middle of it. And sort of keep going until you reach that second layer. It's just starting to come through there. That should be close enough for government work. Now what I'm going to do is cut as much as I can with the grinder without cutting into this lip, both sides, and then run a cut all the way along the bottom there, and I'll get the last little bit with the die grinder. And now I'll get our trusty woodworking chisel, you up in behind there, peel him off. Almost got through that one. I might see if I can just split it. There. Alright. Now of course the only one that I filmed doing, I cut through both layers. So I'll have to weld that up and then yeah, fix him before I plate that. Now I'm just going to cut the bulk of it off. I'll do a final cut line once I've got a flat surface without this sort of in the way. And off it comes. So the rail itself looks like it's still in reasonably good nick. No rust holes. So that's good. Alright. Now I've done this, so now I know exactly how thick my rail is. And when I weld up the actual brackets, I can make them to suit that dimension there. Might have to tap in, but yeah. Yeah, I'll go and clean all this up, grind these little spots off, and then keep going. I hope this GoPro's getting. Sometimes I get the angle. It depends if I'm working on a bench. I miss out on the bottom part of what my hands are doing off screen. When I'm doing stuff like this, yeah, sometimes it doesn't always capture it in the frame. But anyway, okay, first one's welded up. It was understandably fiddly, to say it mildly, but anyway, the overall shape's there. It tapers in a bit. Once I clean all that up, it should be yeah, quite fit for purpose. I don't think it's going to move. I just welded it to that bit of plate there just to keep everything nice and solid. I'll go ahead now and clean it up with the flap disc and see what sort of product we end up with. Alright, she's cleaned up now. Pretty happy with that. That should do the job nicely. Just rounded off as much of the sharp sort of edges and corners and stuff as I could, and hey, I'm happy with that. Alright, I thought I'd give you a look on the first one I made up. Didn't come up too bad. She's nice and solid, so that's going to be good. The second one, I thought I'd show you just how I've set things up a bit before I start putting it all together, in case somebody wants to do something similar. You can sort of, yeah, get an idea of how I did it anyway. So yeah, just a bit of plate steel. Got these sitting nice and square and parallel. I'm just about to go ahead and start tacking everything together. So I'll tack the two side plates to the base plate first, stop them from moving, and then yeah, just carefully keep putting it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Something I thought I'd show you is while I'm going fixing up all these little bits of rust, there was a few pinholes there, so I've opened it up with the die grinder. Now before I fill that back in, I've just got some rust converter in a little El Cheapo oil can, and I'll show you just how much it squirts. What I'm doing is just getting in there, drowning everything in this rust converter, so I can hopefully preserve my subframe. I did it on the other side as well, then I went ahead and patched it up, but I thought this might be a handy little tip for viewers. While it's on this kind of an incline, all that'll run down through there, and yeah, hopefully stop any rust from continuing to grow. I got in there and had a scratch around and blew it all out with compressed air first. Yeah, oh, it's better than nothing. I'm not going to unpick the whole bloody subframe and blast it and treat it, and yeah, works alright. Alright, I've got no idea where the footage ended up from that last bit of filming I did, but back into the old mate's engine now. Crank had to get sent away, get the rear main area ground down to suit the neoprene rear main seal. So that's in now, torqued down, fitted up the rods to the pistons. I'm going to go ahead now and put the rings on, and when it comes to clocking the pistons, I've just made up just a little, I don't know what you'd call it, little reference drawing there. So when yeah, you put them on, you can just sort of line up your gaps according to where they should be, and should be happy days. The old HT, these rails came up alright. There's a few little patches I've repaired. I don't know if you can see anything there, but there's a patch I put in there. There was another patch, you can see that there. Yeah, gave it a coat of satin black, and then yeah, tidied it up a little bit. I'll spend a little bit of time on the inner guards, not too much, just enough to pretty them up, and yeah, I'll hook back into the underbody, get that all bloody cleaned up, and in a nice thick coat of bloody sound deadener, and then satin black, and yeah, disc brake front end can go in, and the engine and trans can go back in. So yeah, that was just a little quick update where I'm at. There was a good bloody solid day worth of tidying up in the shed. There was grinding dust, bloody bits of sheet metal offcuts and shit everywhere. So yeah, got stuck in and tidied it up, made it all sanitary for engine stuff. So yeah, I'll keep hooking into this engine and hopefully get it knocked over in the next couple of days, and yeah, be able to be a free agent again. When I'm working on my own stuff, I can be as rigid or as loose as I want, but when it's someone else's stuff, I sort of, yeah, you do the best job you can and take your time, and yeah. So this one's been a little bit time consuming, but anyway, it is what it is, and I guess that's the way it has to be. So anyway, stay tuned.